James 4, chapter 4 through going into chapter 5, verse 6. Did that make sense? Chapter 4, verse 4 into chapter 5, verse 6. So we're going to study 4 different lessons. And here we are getting to the very end of James. So we have 2 more art projects before we're completely done. So the first lesson that we studied was stop, right turn only. We talked about God's grace and how His Spirit lives inside of us and how we have to choose not to be a friend of the world, but to choose to make right turns into the grace of God. And then we studied yielding to God, where it says resist the devil, get closer to God, draw near to Him, and He will draw near to you. We need to yield to God and resist the temptations of this world. The third lesson we studied was called Dead End or New Beginning. And we looked at chapter 4, verses 13. That's where we started. And it says, today we will do this or that. And God says, don't plan on it. Your life is but a mist. It is a vapor. Our lifespan is so fast. And God is saying, you need to, instead of making plans, you need to come back and say, what is it of your will, Lord? Today, what will I do that is in your will, instead of making plans of our own? Because when we make plans of our own and all of a sudden life interrupts them, we get angry. But God's like, aren't you trusting in me? This is a new beginning for you. That is that we don't need to trust in ourselves. And it says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's will that will prevail. Okay, the last lesson that we studied was called Behave Behind the Wheel. And we realized that God is our only judge and that one day we will be accountable for how we live this life. Therefore, we need to behave. And we talked about riches and how being rich is not necessarily a sin. It's the love of wealth and the love of money that gets in our way before God. And He says, you need to trust me because I will provide you everything that you need, not everything that you necessarily want. So today we are going to do what I call the house of God. And we're going to take 2 pieces of wood and make a house because I think that we need to draw near to Him. We need to knock on His door when we need guidance. So we're going to use a knocker. And we also need to thirst for Him, especially in our lives, and not choosing to be friends with the world, but having a thirst for who God is. So we're going to take a can, a soda can, or something that makes you thirsty, or you want when you're thirsty, and we're going to put it on the roof of our house. So it's kind of like a house of God, something that makes you want to go to God. He says, resist this world, draw near to me, I will draw near to you. It's a promise. So let's get started on our house of God. And remember, this is your house of God, so you can make it as creative and fun as you want. So what I did was, this is a 2x4, and I had it cut. You can either have it cut at Lowe's, or you can find somebody who's great with wood and have them cut a roof and a house. So right now, you're going to sand your wood because it is going to be rough and it is going to have some hard edges. So what I want you to do is really sand your wood. And after you get it all nice and smooth, I want you to take a candle, and this is just a little tea light. And it's an old French technique, but it's really got some creative qualities. I want you to rub the edges of your candle on the wood. The edges of the wood, because what it's going to do is it's going to resist the paint. And also, if you take your wax and maybe do a strip right down the middle, then the paint will peel up from that wax, and it's a really cool effect. So what I've done is I've pulled this piece of scrap paper. It's fun, it's bright, and I've also found a can that kind of matches these colors. And then I'm going to choose some paint that matches the colors, and then I start having my color theme for my house, because you want to have some kind of idea of what colors before you start so it's not frustrating.
Sometimes I wonder
as you can see, I've painted my roof and my house. So while that's drying, I'm going to show you how to cut a soda can. It's not that hard, don't be scared. And you're not going to cut yourself, just be careful. You take some scissors and your can and you pierce it. After you pierce it, you take your scissors and you cut around the top. Okay, once you have this, you want to cut a seam right down the middle, very easy. And then you carefully grab it and cut the bottom off. Now you have a can to work with. What you're going to do while I'm just waiting for this to dry, you're going to turn this over. You're going to take your roof and you're going to place it down and you're going to trace it. Then after you trace it, you're going to cut it out and we are going to pin it to our roof.
I want to let your story take the stage. Put your glory on display. Let everything I do.
So now I have my triangle piece of soda can or water can, and I'm going to take these tacks and tack it onto my roof. So I'm going to lay this down, and again, tell your girls to be careful. I don't think they're going to cut themselves, but it is sharp. So I'm going to take these, and it's really great because all you have to do is just press them down. And then after you press them down, I would come back with a hammer and really hammer them down. But for the time being, you're just trying to get your tin so it won't bubble up. So now what I'm going to do is take a hammer and lightly hammer these tacks onto my roof. Remember that fun technique I told you about? Where now we get to sandpaper and see where the wood starts to show through the paint. So what we're going to do is start sanding. Do you see where it's coming through? It's coming through because we put that wax on. The next thing I want you to do is go online and print out this scripture sheet. Because remember, every art craft will have the book of James that we are studying. So by the end of the time that you are finishing James, if you decide to do all this art, you will have the entire book of James written on your art project. I think that is pretty cool. And what I want you to do, kind of what we did like on the message boards, we cut out the pieces of scripture that really meant a lot to us. And so I want you to cut out the scripture that really touched your heart, and I want you to glue them onto your house of God.
Let everything I do shine a light on you. I don't care if I'm the star. It's all about who you are, and that's alright with me. If all that I can be is just a voice, just a voice, breaking through the madness.
While we're cutting out, I'm going to show you that also on this piece of paper is the scripture of what we're studying for our house of God. So I want you to cut this out and glue it on the back of your house. So now I'm kind of composing my house of God. I decided to cut out from my scrapbooking paper a little flower to add to my house. And this door knocker was too big, so I went to a little door knocker that I had. I'm going to put it down on the table because we're going to really glue this down with wood glue so that it will stay. So I'm going to put it on the table so you can see it. But what I've done for the last part for your house of God is gone and gotten 2 sticks. And we are going to take those 2 sticks and first put a little hot glue to glue it down. Next, I'm going to take some wire just to reinforce that the 2 sticks stay together. And I'm going to just wrap the wire around the 2 sticks just to make sure that they stay together. And the final touch is I'm going to glue the cross to the house of God. All right, I'm going to keep my house down on the table now, because if I stand it up, then all the wood, all the knobs, and the cross are going to fall off. Hot glue is good, but you're going to really need something heavy duty for this part. So all I'm going to do now is take my roof and glue it down, take my knob and glue it down, take my cross and glue it down with wood glue, and then I would really let it sit overnight just so that it will be very tight and it will not come off. Just completed the house of God. It is our 6th art craft in the book of James. I can't believe we've gone that far, and we have one more craft before we close our book of James. So I pray that as you see your house of God in your room, I want you to remember that God's promise is that when you come near to Him, He is promising that He will draw near to you. It says in the Bible that God never sleeps. He never grows tired or weary. So that means He wants you to come to Him. He's always available. So I pray that when you see your house of God, that you will come to the house of God. He is waiting.
Breaking through the madness.